Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining me in this slightly unhinged July reading vlog. We're going to be doing things a wee bit different. So, as I'm sure you could tell from the title, I'm going to be working on a little life this month. Just a little life. I think it's like 700-ish pages. So I'm being kind, I'm being gracious to myself, and this is my sole book focus in July. Because I'm only reading this one book, I'm going to want to talk about it a lot. So here is your spoiler alert. If you have not read this book, if you don't want anything spoiled for you, this video is not for you because I will be spoiling everything. The only thing I know about this book is it focuses on 4 friends. I think they live in New York, and it's supposed to be a real tearjerker. Supposed to crush your soul. So that's what I'm ready for. I am prepared for the tears. I'm prepared for violent weeping. I am prepared to have my soul crushed. So let's get into it. Hey guys, I'm back. It's been some time. Things have happened. It's been it's been like a stressful 2 months, and I feel like every time I get on here, I'm just like, it's been rough. It has been rough, but I have still been reading this book. It's been over 2 weeks now, so my original intention that I'm going to read a few chapters and then talk about it kind of went out the window, but that's okay because we are going to get back on track, and I'm going to tell you what has happened thus far in this book. Let's talk about our 4 major characters. We have Willem, Jude, JB, and Malcolm, and they are all from very different racial, economic, social backgrounds, wildly different experiences, wildly different families, but they went to college together, and they've all moved to New York now. They're all it's a very tight-knit friend group, and they're all very excited to kind of start their lives. The world is full of possibilities, etc., etc. So we have initially Willem, who is the actor of the group. Well, he wants to be an actor. Obviously, this is New York. He's just starting out. Things are very cutthroat, and he is not a cutthroat person. He's very handsome, he's very kind, he's just very wholesome, and he's just a good person. He works in a restaurant in order to help pay the bills, and he and Jude just moved into this kind of crappy New York apartment together, but they're really happy and they're really hopeful about it. Jude, initially in the first section of the book, we don't get very much from. We really learn about him through the reaction of the other 3 to him. He doesn't really get his dedicated POV until later in the book. Then we have Malcolm. He is an architect. He's studying to be an architect, and he comes from a very wealthy, successful family, so there are really high standards that he needs to meet. Then lastly, we have JB. JB is an artist. He kind of delves into different forms, but he finds his niche in photography, specifically taking photos of his friends. That's where he really finds inspiration. And he is the most kind of brusque, not exactly rude, but he rubs some people the wrong way sometimes. He's got a very strong personality. So rather than have typical chapters like a normal book would, I guess, this has kind of chunky sections, 7 or 8 sections in total, that focus on different kind of time periods in these characters' lives. So initially, the first one is they've just graduated college, they're all starting out, and then next, several years have passed and a lot of them are finding success in their careers. And then we've got the character of Jude. Jude really becomes the heart of this story the more that it progresses. He is extremely intelligent. He's very handsome. He's kind of shy, soft-spoken, and emotionally he is fragile. The more you learn about Jude, just the more twisted his mind, like you learn his mind is, the way that he views how he thinks relationships work, which is a very unhealthy way. And you start to learn more about his past. So Initially, everything is very hush hush. It's very secret. He doesn't like to talk about it. He doesn't like to be touched. He doesn't want to be in relationships. He just wants people to kind of leave his past alone. But we get snippets of his life before college. First, we learn about a woman. I can't remember her name, but she was a social worker who had to help Jude through a court case in which he was the victim of. We don't know what happened, but we learned that it was bad, and he had an injury to his leg, a really major injury to his leg that still persists into adulthood, and it's actually just getting worse. So he has occasional, like, really severe bouts of pain from it, where he just kind of like will lock up and he has to lay on the floor until it goes away. And then as the story progresses, he has to use a cane, and then he has to use a wheelchair. We learn more about his origins as a literal garbage baby. So this convent took care of him when he was a very, very young child, and raised him not in a great environment, not a healthy, not a loving, not like God loves us so we're gonna love you type of thing, as it should be. A very abusive environment, and he was brainwashed with a really terrible view of just his self-worth, and he was taught to think that he is this kind of terrible creature, that he deserves to be hated and loathed. And so as he carries this into adulthood, this attracts a lot of, outside of his friend group, it attracts a lot of the wrong sort of individuals. So the only relationship, unfortunately, we're given 2 relationships of Jude, the first 2 of his life, and they are bad, really, really terrible. So when he was young, and I told you guys this is going to be a spoiler video, so prepare yourself. When he was young, he was abused at this convent, and he's such a smart kid. He's such a bright kid. He just wants to be loved. He wants to please people. So freaking brother, I think is it Luke? I can't remember. One of the brothers sees this. He's like a shark with a drop of blood in the ocean, and he sees this weakness and he sees this potential and starts grooming him and starts brainwashing him. And he's like, you know, the other brothers, they don't treat you well, but I really love you, and I'd want to get you away from here. And so Jude, being an innocent little kid, runs away with this brother, and this brother ends up treating Jude I don't like it. It was really difficult to read, just because Jude is such a, like, you want good things for him, and you want him to be happy, and you want him to find love, and he's so desperate for love. So the things that he's willing to do and put himself through and let the brother do to him are just really terrible, and I don't like it. So we go back and forth from Jude as an adult to Jude as a child. And as an adult, he is really struggling. He's never gone to therapy. He's more of the mindset that if I pretend like this thing didn't happen, if I can keep myself busy enough, then I just don't have to think about it. And minds don't work like that. So, you know, the friend group, they're doing pretty well. They're finding success in their career. Willem and Jude are the closest, and Willem becomes a successful actor where he's able to quit the restaurant. He starts becoming pretty famous. Malcolm is successful. JB is successful as an artist, but there is tension between JB and Jude. So JB likes to take pictures of his friends. Jude is very shy. He's very private. So when JB takes pictures of Jude and then like plasters it all over, it's not exactly a great feeling. So as the years go, we pass them in their 20s, and then in their 30s, and then in their 40s. So it's decades that we spend with these characters. So some of the friendships turn into relationships. Some of them break. Some of them grow stronger. Some of them grow more distant. But really, Willem and Jude are kind of become the center of the book. JB and Malcolm more fall along the wayside. And the section of the book where I most recently left off is section 5, and it's called The Happy Years. And I need some happy years here because this freaking author is making me really care about these two characters and want good things for them. And increasingly, I'm thinking that might not happen. I'm thinking I started the book with 4 characters. I'm not sure if I'm going to end with 4 characters because Jude, he is struggling. He's been dealing with self-harm ever since he was a young kid, but it gets worse and worse. He has a suicide attempt. It's just bad. He gets in this relationship. He finally is brave enough and allows himself to be vulnerable around someone, and the type of people that are attracted to his vulnerability are just the monsters. And I just want someone nice for him. Him and Willem have just started a relationship, and I'm like, yes. Because Willem is like, he is so patient, he's so sweet, he really loves Jude. But the communication, Jude does not know how to communicate, so there's a lot going on internally that he is not sharing with Willem that are just going to be really detrimental for any sort of long-term relationship. And I just want them both to be happy. There are some really sweet relationships in the book. So Jude, when he's in college, he's becoming a lawyer, and he's a really good lawyer. He's so smart. He remembers everything, and he's so like cutthroat in the courtroom, which is really ironic because outside the courtroom, he's just like the most gentle person ever. But one of the judges that he was clerking for in college, he gets really close to and becomes a father figure and ends up adopting him as an adult. And it's such a sweet relationship. And he also has this doctor friend whose name, I think it's Andrew. And they care for each other so much. And Andrew is really kind of Jude's watcher, I guess, because he has so many self-destructive habits, and it kind of reminds me almost of Bones and Kirk from Star Trek. It's like that sort of like, the doctor is like really tough and will tell you how it is, but it's very sweet on the inside. So this book is just, it's packing a punch so far, and I really want to continue, but I am almost afraid to know where it ends up because I don't think it's a happy ending kind of book as much as I want it to be. Oh my gosh, I don't know. But that's where we are so far, guys. It's really good so far, though. Like, I get why this is difficult for people to get through. Like, there are scenes where I'm just like, I feel my face, like my jaw like will tighten up, or I'll start like wincing or something, which I don't do in a lot of books. I don't often like physically react to them, but this book I have several times. I'm scared, guys. I'm scared, but we're gonna keep going. We're gonna finish it. All right, hopefully I'll have an update soon. All right, guys, we are back a little later than I wanted to be. I did have to take a break for a few days. My book club was meeting. I hadn't started that book. We ended up reading Piranesi, so I took like 3 or 4 days to go through that. But I have so close. I have made progress on this still, and some of my views have changed. So recently, I think in the last part of the video, I had mentioned how so many people complain about this being like torture porn type of book where it's just like tragedy for the sake of tragedy, and I wasn't getting there, but something happened that made me do a 180. It made me change my mind on that. So, oh geez, Jude has, he's moved on from this brother man who ended up killing himself. The police came in, got him, sent Jude to this kind of, it's not really a camp, but it's like this retreat home for like troubled kids. And of course, he's getting abused there as well because it just doesn't stop. He ends up running away from there. Finally, like he gets the courage. He's like, I can't stay here anymore. I can't keep doing this. I'm going to take my chances. I'm going to run away. And he ends up meeting this doctor. And the doctor takes him in, invites him into his home, and feeds him and gives him medicine. And does that sound too good to be true? Yeah, because it is. Because he ends up being this like sexual sadist who keeps Jude locked in the basement and ends up running over him with his car, which is how he gets the injuries that we, you know, the limping in the leg. That's how that happened. And it's just like, until that point, I was like, you know what, okay, if a kid is taken from a really young age and they're taught that this is like giving pleasure to others is what you're made for, and that one person keeps them like, this has happened before to kids, that thankfully is rare, but it could be realistic. And it could be realistic that as an adult, you've kind of been brainwashed into believing that you deserve certain types of people and certain types of relationships are normal. So, okay, I could see how you would attract like a abusive partner. That part tracked. Him just running into every single person he meets as this like really horrible abuser, like each one is worse than the last, that doesn't, it's starting to get a bit like outlandish, where it does feel like the author's just kind of trying to dump like as many bad things as can happen on this kid because she just wants you to feel I don't know, like really terrible. And you do feel really terrible. Like that is, it works. What she's doing is working. I feel horrible for this kid. I really want good things for him in the present. You know, I want him to believe that he is worth good people and good relationships and a healthy life. So I do see now though why people have that negative reaction towards this book, because I'm like, yeah, it's getting a little ridiculous at this point. But let's go back to the book. In present day, Jude's legs, they're not doing very well. He is now in his like late 40s. He and Willem are in a relationship, and they have decided that there's not going to be any sort of like physical intimacy. Jude's just like, I don't like that. I'll never like it. I want to be with you. I love you, but like that's never going to be good for me. So he and Willem have found this happy medium in their relationship where Willem is getting, you know, by Jude's permission, physical intimacy from other people, but he always comes home to Jude. He lives with Jude. That's like, he gets the mind, he gets the emotions, etc., etc. Fine. But Jude's legs, he can barely walk like 10 feet with them. They're just painful all the time. He keeps getting sores. He keeps getting open wounds on them. He's gotten like 2 bone infections from them. And Andrew, the doctor who's been helping him from the time he was like in his early 20s, I think, he's like, we really need to think about amputation. These things are pretty much just sources of infection, sources of pain. They're not even helping you get around. So it's a really tough decision, but Jude ends up agreeing to the surgery. Both of his legs get amputated at the knees, and he goes through therapy. He has to recover from the surgery, but he ends up getting some prosthetics that help him move around better than he did when he had his own leg. So it's like awesome, good. He's not feeling pain from it. He's able to move around. Great things are happening for him. And Willem is super successful as an actor. He's very famous. They're very happy together. They have a house. Jude is starting to cut himself less, which is fantastic. And Willem at one point says to him, like, these are our happy years. Like, I'm really feeling settled in our life together. I'm feeling happy. We've reached this great point. We're both so successful. We both love each other. We have great friends. We have great family. And isn't that sweet? Yes, it is. But this book can never give you one happy moment without like repaying it tenfold in misery. So I have reached the very end portion of the happy years, and I only have a tiny bit left. I've got like 100 pages left. I am going to finish this today. I'm going back and forth between physically reading this book and the audiobook, and I think I'm just going to take a 3-hour walk. I'm gonna finish this because it needs to be done. I need to know what's gonna happen as much as I don't want to know, because as I said before, I don't think I'm gonna get a happy ending with this book. And I kind of want to stop now and just kind of pretend as if, hey, they lived happily ever after and things kept getting better. But I need to know. So that's what's going to happen. I am going to like a little art festival with a friend in like an hour. But after that, I'm going to go, maybe I'll walk some dogs, put my headphones on, go for a long walk along the lake. Hopefully it doesn't rain on me, but I will be back tonight. And we're going to finish this video and we're going to finish this book, and I can finally check it off my list, which, fantastic. So, we're back a little sooner than tonight. It's only been like half an hour. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to physically read a little bit more and then I'll finish the book with a walk. I finished The Happy Years, and guess how it ended? Not good. Willem was in a car crash. It ended with Willem in a car crash. I'm going to stop now because I need to leave soon, and I am not going to be able to stop reading once I start this next portion. So, I suspected that this book was going to end with Jude ultimately committing suicide, just having a terrible something else terrible happens to him that he just can't get over, and it ends up being kind of his loss of life at the end of the book. And now it might be Willem, which is like a golden retriever of a character who is really kind and really handsome and so good to Jude and just like a good person. And it might have to be Jude living without him, which, how would Jude do that? Not well, because Willem is pretty much his rock and his main source of love and affection and positivity. Maybe Willem survived this car crash. I'm gonna find out in a few hours, but I swear if this book kills Willem, I can see why people I read so many reviews of this. Nothing gave anything away. Like, I didn't read any spoilers, but one of the things I know that people say about this book a lot is like, why, they're really mad at the ending. Like, why did I end up reading this? And I can see now, if this is what happens, why people would be pissed. Because I'm going to be pissed. But you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. All I know is there was a car crash. He could be alive. He could be fine. Maybe he doesn't even have scratch on him. I have a feeling that's not going to happen. But we have the final portion, which is called Dear Comrade. This book. Oh my gosh. I'm back. Can you tell I finished the book? I'm so happy I finished this freaking book. We've got to talk. Let's talk. Let's discuss this. I just got back from 3 hours walking in the rain in the fog, which is quite fitting for this book. And as I continued to read it, and it started going down a certain path, I'm like, you know what? We're going to make a little detour. And I got myself, I've started it a bit, a strong margarita for this conversation because I deserve it after making it through this book. We had stopped where Willem, oh my goodness, Willem was in a car accident. We didn't know if he lived or if he died. And I had stopped because I'm like, once I find out, I'm not going to want to pause. I'm going to need to read the whole thing, the rest of it in full. And what a shocker. He dies. Who would have thought? Willem, good, sweet Willem, the thing that is keeping Jude tethered, has died a pretty gruesome death. He was hit by a drunk driver who was driving beer. Like, it was like a big 18-wheeler or whatever, and he was carrying beer, and he was drunk, and Willem was thrown out of the car. He was wearing his seatbelt, but he was thrown out. He hit a tree with his face, and all the bones in his face were broken, and Jude had to identify him by like a mole on his back and his legs or something like that. So, who'd have thought? Who'd have thought we would not end up with 4 characters? Oh my goodness. So, there was another person. There were a few other people in that car, but one of them is someone that we knew, Malcolm. Malcolm's also dead. So, as you might imagine, Jude, who is just hanging on by the thinnest piece of string in a good time, does not take this death well. He is watching all of Willem's old movies. He's listening to the voicemails he's left him. He's like keeping his clothes and smelling them to try to remember what Willem smelled like. And he declines pretty rapidly. What's the point? I'm not going to try really anymore. And what's the point of eating? So he loses a bunch of weight, and his friends and his family are very concerned and stage an intervention. So he either has to get better, eat more, take care of himself, follow rules, or he has to be hospitalized again. And it's I was surprised by how much time actually continued to pass after Willem's death. I thought it would be more of like a clean-cut end, but it doesn't do that. So it's 3 hours of Jude's kind of steady decline, where it reminded me almost of Twilight, where, what's the second one? I think New Moon, where Edward leaves and Bella figures out that to see Edward again, she has to like put herself in dangerous situations. Jude does this. He stops eating, and he finds out that when he gets right to the point where he's so weak that he's about to pass out, he sees Willem. And the last section of the book is written from the perspective of Jude's adopted father, who we've loved through this book. Such a sweet man, such a good man, wants to just give Jude all the love and all the affection that he's never had in his life. And it's just, it's such a complicated, tough, but sweet relationship. And I had really hoped that we might still get somewhat of a happy ending. It's difficult to use that after Willem died because he was such a good character. And I'm not gonna cry. This book is not gonna make me cry. But I was hoping that Jude would like use his death as a not a focal point, but as kind of like a breaking point, and be like, you know what? He wouldn't want me to continue living like this. I'm going to use this as an excuse, as an opportunity to really start purposefully living. I'm going to kind of allow myself to be vulnerable. I'm going to throw myself into meaningful work. I'm going to throw myself into relationships with friends and family and people that matter and people that love me. Nope. No. We didn't end with 3 characters. We ended with 1 character of our major group of 4 friends, which is worse than I thought it would be. So, shortly before the very ending of the book, Jude decides to kill himself. He's done. He decides to do it on a random day that doesn't really have any significance. And I think it ends up being like 2-ish years after Willem died. He injects himself with a needle. I think it's like full of air, which I believe gave him a stroke or something of that sort. And the author doesn't leave it at that. She details how, oh yeah, and then like 2 years after that, this other character dies that you really grew to love. And then 3 years after that, this other character dies, until it is only JB and the adopted father left, who's like 84 years old. I don't remember what his name is, which is really bugging me. Yep. Yeah, that's it. And that's it. That's it, guys. I have so many emotions. Yeah, I have so many emotions. Is this a good book, though? That's something I'm kind of wrestling with. Like, I like tragedy to have some sort of deeper meaning or to reflect something. Just, but is that good on my part, or is that bad? Like, bad things happen. I think the issue that I have with it is you can, I won't say easily, but you can write a book with likable characters or great characters and have terrible thing after terrible thing after terrible thing befall them, and people are going to have an emotional reaction to it. That's just like common sense. Is that good writing? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this book. I know people are really divided about this book. I can see why people hate the ending. I hate the ending. And I appreciate tragic endings. It kind of feels like, what was the point? But then what's the point of any book? I'm getting very introspective. This book is making me like dig deep for meaning, and maybe it's not intended to have any deeper meaning. Then sometimes life sucks, and here are some people and here are some things that happen to them, and it's my book, so I'm gonna write what I want. I don't know. I'm kind of lost for how I feel about it. I will say it was way easier to read than I thought it would be. Easier, not in the sense that some of the incidents in the book are easy to read about, like some of the things are really terrible. Easy to read as in like the language. I think I blew it up a bit in my mind because people would go on and on about this book several years ago, that I kind of assumed it was more like highbrow literary type of thing. And it's not that at all. It's very simple, I guess. And I don't mean that in any sort of like with any negative connotation. But I don't know. I'm glad that I've read it. I don't feel very glad at the moment. I feel kind of crushed and slightly depressed. And I feel like I need to do something happy now. I need to like watch SpongeBob, I don't know, or like Bob's Burgers. I need to watch a colorful cartoon and call my loved ones. don't know. I will say I did not cry. Talking with you is the closest to like getting teary-eyed, but I was surprised that I didn't cry. But maybe that's because I was in public. The last when I was walking, and then when Jude killed himself, the last 10 minutes I was on the train, and there were a ton of people around me. So I don't know if that had an impact, but I've read it, and I'm not even going to try and rate it right now because I don't know, guys. I'm just kind of mentally, emotionally exhausted, and I'm going to drink my margarita now and think about life. And yeah. If you guys have read this, please tell me what you think about this, because I have a few friends who started reading it and ended up DNFing it because they hated it so much. So I'd very much like to get the perspective of someone who has read the whole thing. Tell me what you think, because I'm still trying to figure out what I think. But if you have stuck with me, thank you for going on this journey with me. It might not have been fun, but we got there in the end. So I will see you guys next video. We're gonna have to switch gears and do something a bit more upbeat because. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.